The Trump administration is planning to slap a nearly 21% tariff on most of the tomatoes imported from Mexico.
Just a 17% tariff on Mexican tomatoes, effective this week after the termination.
In a surprising move, the Trump administration has canceled a 30-year trade agreement with Mexico, causing a major shock to the U.S. fresh tomato industry. A new 17% tariff on tomatoes imported from Mexico has been imposed, driving the price of imported tomatoes up by 21%. This decision not only deeply impacts U.S. farmers, but also changes the landscape of the country's agricultural industry. Instead of bustling trade with trucks full of fresh tomatoes from Mexico flowing into the U.S.-Mexico border is now silent, with thousands of trucks standing still at the border, waiting for clearance in light of the new tariffs. Meanwhile, Mexico is benefiting from this price hike, expected to collect a significant revenue of up to $12 billion. This has sparked a heated debate on how tax policies are affecting domestic industries and consumers. Do you agree with this decision? Leave a 1 if you agree, and a 0 if you disagree. Don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to support us. Now let's dive into this story. When the Trump administration canceled a 30-year trade agreement and imposed a 17% tariff on fresh tomatoes imported from Mexico, American communities and the agricultural sector faced profound consequences. The U.S.-Mexico border, once bustling with trucks carrying fresh tomatoes from Mexico, has now fallen silent and bleak. Trucks, instead of continuing their deliveries, are being blocked at major checkpoints like the Peace Bridge and Ambassador Bridge, while cold storage facilities, where tomatoes are kept for shipment, are operating sluggishly due to a lack of workers and support from related authorities. This is not just a tariff crisis. It is a disaster for thousands of American farming families. They have not only lost their primary source of income, but are also facing the risk of bankruptcy. Revenue from tomato exports has plummeted by $340 million, a significant loss for an already struggling rural economy. Thousands of farming families are not only facing financial losses, but also enduring emotional shocks as they watch their hard work go to waste. The repercussions of this policy go beyond direct losses. Food processing facilities, repair shops, and the eateries where truck drivers typically stop are all struggling. These small businesses, which relied on the stability of the supply chain and the steady flow of trucks, now find themselves without enough customers to keep their operations running. Unemployment rates in agriculture have surged to 30%, a warning for those who believe that the U.S. agricultural industry can survive without stable trade agreements. Moreover, these negative effects are deeply impacting other sectors of society, especially education and healthcare in rural areas. As farmers' primary income decreases, many schools and hospitals in rural regions are forced to close or scale back operations. This not only diminishes the quality of life for local residents, but also deprives many young people of the opportunity to receive proper education or healthcare. Rural communities, already struggling with inadequate infrastructure and services, now face new, even more severe challenges. The lesson to be learned from this crisis is not only about the impact of tariffs on traditional industries, but also the importance of maintaining stability in international trade relations. Trade agreements are not just numbers on paper. They can have far-reaching effects on the global economy, from large markets to the smallest farming families. Altering a trade deal has led to a cascade of unpredictable consequences, affecting not only farmers, but also the local economy, education, and healthcare of communities. Meanwhile, leaders and governments must understand the close interconnection between industries, particularly those that are vulnerable, such as agriculture. Policies need to be crafted with careful consideration of their impact on rural communities and the factors involved in maintaining social stability. Otherwise, careless policy changes could leave those who have already borne too much burden facing further unnecessary crises. This reality serves as a wake-up call for policymakers on how to sustain the long-term development of U.S. agriculture. It is not just about reducing taxes or boosting exports. It is about building a fair and stable trade system that protects hard-working people in the fields and ensures that their efforts are not destroyed by short-term political changes. Canada, an important trade partner of the U.S., has quickly adjusted and adapted to the changes in the agricultural market brought about by the Trump administration's decision to impose high tariffs on fresh tomatoes from Mexico. To reduce dependence on U.S. supply, Canada has made major agreements worth up to $180 million with greenhouse growers in British Columbia and Ontario. These agreements aim to provide high-quality tomatoes and ensure a stable domestic supply while safeguarding Canada's agricultural sector from unforeseen market fluctuations. Canada's decision to reduce imports of U.S. tomatoes is partly driven by the desire to build a long-term strategy that mitigates risks from the instability in U.S. trade policies. The Canadian government is well aware that relying too much on supply from a single country can pose significant risks if trade policies change suddenly. Although U.S. tomatoes have long been a major source for the Canadian market, with rising tariffs and uncertainty in trade agreements, Canada has decided to intensify the development of alternative domestic sources and partnerships with other countries. The agreement with greenhouse growers is a strategic move to ensure independence in the agricultural sector, reducing dependence on the U.S. and creating a more sustainable and secure supply chain. The long-term impact of this decision is clear. Canada is no longer reliant on U.S. tomatoes as it once was. Instead, Mexico is gradually becoming a major player in the global agricultural market. With this shift, Mexico not only maintains a key role in supplying fresh tomatoes, but is also expanding strongly in other agricultural sectors. Mexico has built an efficient agricultural production and export system, becoming a formidable competitor in the global agricultural industry. This not only helps Mexico maintain stability in its economy, but also increases its influence in international markets, especially as the U.S. and Canada attempt to reduce their mutual dependence in essential trade sectors. The changes in the agricultural market also raise questions about the competitiveness between agricultural producing countries and the shifting flows of global trade. Countries like Mexico, with flexible agricultural production systems and resources, are gradually becoming important partners in the global supply chain. This is an irreversible trend as nations seek to maintain food supply stability and reduce risks from political upheaval or changes in international trade policies. From a long-term perspective, Canada's strategy may serve as a model for other countries to build a sustainable agricultural supply system that does not rely too heavily on any single nation. Reducing dependence on traditional trade partners like the U.S. can create greater autonomy for countries, allowing them to better cope with fluctuations in global markets. At the same time, strengthening cooperation with partners like Mexico helps these countries tap into stable and high-quality agricultural supply sources. In summary, the changes in the agricultural market, particularly in the trade relationships between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, serve as a clear example of how countries can adapt and restructure trade relationships to minimize risks and ensure long-term stability in agriculture. This is an important trend that may impact not only these countries but also the global food supply chain system in the coming years. Mexico, with its increasingly important role in the global agricultural sector, has swiftly seized the opportunity presented by changes in trade policies that have forced many countries to rethink their agricultural supply strategies. Facing challenges from the new tariff decisions by the U.S. and Canada seeking alternative agricultural partners, Mexico has risen as a formidable competitor in the agricultural industry, receiving significant investments from large agricultural corporations from Europe and China. Mexico has become an attractive destination for international investors, especially in agriculture. Large corporations from Europe and China have invested approximately $12 billion in the market over recent years, signaling confidence in Mexico's potential for sustainable growth and competitiveness in the sector. These investments not only help boost production, but also create job opportunities and enhance the development of rural communities, many of which have substantial agricultural land. With this influx of capital, Mexico is building a solid foundation to become one of the major agricultural hubs in the world. One of Mexico's main strategies to enhance its competitiveness in agriculture is investing in modern technology. Advanced greenhouses and hydroponic methods are helping Mexico produce high-quality crops while minimizing negative environmental impacts. The adoption of these technologies increases output while ensuring sustainability, reducing water and fertilizer usage, and improving production efficiency while minimizing waste. Moreover, Logistics infrastructure, including modern cold storage systems and smart transportation routes, is helping Mexico reduce transportation costs and enhance the swift, efficient distribution of agricultural products. This allows Mexico to maintain its position in the global agricultural supply chain and offer goods at competitive prices. Another crucial factor in Mexico's strategy is technological transformation, especially the integration of automation and smart sensor systems in agricultural production. Soil, water, and light sensor technologies are helping Mexican farmers optimize irrigation and cultivation practices, thereby lowering costs and boosting productivity. Automated systems reduce dependence on manual labor while improving production efficiency and minimizing errors in crop care. The adoption of advanced technologies not only improves productivity, but also enhances product quality, allowing Mexican agricultural products to meet the stringent requirements of international markets, thus increasing competitiveness in global markets. This shift is not only creating short-term competitive advantages for Mexico, but also laying the groundwork for a sustainable future in agriculture. Investment strategies in technology, logistics infrastructure, and modern farming methods are helping Mexico become a powerful agricultural hub, not just serving traditional markets, but also expanding into new ones. The international investments further prove that Mexico can maintain its development and continually improve product quality. By embracing technology and sustainable agricultural methods, Mexico is not only poised to grow in agriculture, but also contribute to the development of the global economy. In summary, Mexico is entering a new era in agriculture, where technology and international investment play a crucial role in building a strong and sustainable agricultural sector. These investment strategies not only help Mexico reduce its dependence on traditional trade partners, but also open up significant opportunities for future growth, positioning the country as an indispensable partner in the global agricultural supply chain. If you agree with Mexico's investment and technology shift strategy, please comment 1. If you disagree, comment 0 to share your perspective. Don't forget to like, share this video, and subscribe to support us, helping us bring more exciting content. Now let's continue to follow the next developments in the video. U.S. agriculture, once a pillar of the national economy, is now facing serious challenges in maintaining its position on the global stage. The delay in technological innovation, lack of strategic investment, and inflexibility in adapting to market changes have caused the U.S. agriculture sector to lose its competitive edge. Although U.S. agriculture once played a crucial role in the country's economic growth, the industry has started to weaken. The shortage of investment in technology and infrastructure, combined with the slow adoption of modern production methods, has made it difficult for U.S. agricultural businesses to compete with international competitors. U.S. farmers and food processing companies have not received strong enough support to improve productivity and product quality, and they lack the innovation needed to meet the strict demands of global markets. As a result, U.S. agricultural products are becoming less appealing to international markets, especially as competitors like Mexico are gaining strength. The decline of U.S. agriculture has led to unavoidable consequences. Companies and food processing plants, which were once integral to the U.S. agricultural supply chain, are now struggling to maintain operations. The food processing sector, which adds high value to the agricultural supply chain, is now facing declining revenues and rising operating costs. As a result, many plants have had to close or scale back, leading to the loss of thousands of jobs. Meanwhile, increasing transportation costs due to issues in logistics and infrastructure are making U.S. agricultural products less competitive compared to those from other countries. The lack of innovative initiatives to improve productivity and reduce costs has led to the U.S. losing its leadership position in the global agricultural market. One clear impact of the weakening U.S. agricultural industry is the rise in competition from Mexico. Through strong investments in technology, infrastructure improvements, and the adoption of modern farming methods, Mexico has gradually replaced the U.S. in large export markets such as Europe and other countries. Agricultural products from Mexico not only have lower production costs due to efficient methods, but also maintain consistent quality, making them more attractive to importers. Mexico has seized this opportunity by adopting new technologies such as modern greenhouses, hydroponics, and automation in agricultural production. This allows Mexico to produce large quantities of goods at lower costs and with stable quality, meeting the stringent requirements of international markets. Moreover, Mexico is less affected by transportation cost issues compared to the US, thanks to its proximity to major markets like Europe and North America. Additionally, Mexico's stable trade policies with countries like Europe and China have enhanced its credibility with international trade partners, while the US faces challenges due to changes in tariff policies and trade disputes. The decline of US agriculture is not just a present issue, but could extend into the future, impacting long-term viability. US export markets are gradually shrinking, and competitors like Mexico are gaining a greater share. If the US does not take strategic steps to reform its agricultural sector and increase investment in technology, the industry may lose its competitive position in the global market. The key lesson from the decline of US agriculture is the importance of continuous innovation and investment in technology. Countries cannot rely solely on existing advantages, but must find ways to adapt to changes in the global economic and trade environment. Investment in technology, improving production efficiency, and reducing operational costs are critical factors that help countries maintain their competitive strength in the global agricultural market. In conclusion, the decline of US agriculture and the rise in competition from Mexico serve as a major warning for countries to maintain stability and growth in this sector. Smart investment policies and the adoption of new technologies will be the key to ensuring that countries can compete in a rapidly changing global agricultural world. The decline of US agriculture has created not only economic problems, but also deepened social challenges, affecting millions of people, especially rural communities closely tied to agriculture. Farming families, who have been connected to the land for generations, now face enormous challenges, not just financially, but also socially as they deal with the loss of their livelihood. The decline in US agriculture has led to serious financial consequences. Unemployment in agriculture has surged to 34%, a troubling figure not only due to its impact on the income of millions of workers, but also because of the long-term social stability implications. Food processing companies and agricultural farms, which were key employers in rural communities, are now struggling with reduced output and revenue, causing many factories to close or scale back operations. This has resulted in a wave of bankruptcies, with thousands of farmers unable to continue their operations and being forced to sell their land. The growth of debt has also increased, as these farmers cannot pay off loans and are at risk of losing their land. As a result, many families are living in hardship, not only losing valuable assets, but also facing an uncertain future without a steady income, leading to poverty and personal financial crises. The greatest loss that US agriculture has suffered is not only the financial numbers or unemployment rates, but also the widespread social consequences. Long-standing farming families who have been connected to the land and agriculture for generations now have to leave the homes and jobs they built their lives around. This is a shock not only to these families, but to the entire rural community, as the cultural values and traditions tied to farming begin to disappear. The migration from rural areas to large cities is on the rise. Farming families, no longer able to maintain life in rural areas, are seeking to settle in urban regions, leading to population dispersion and a decrease in rural population. This has created a demographic imbalance, with rural areas losing vitality and becoming more desolate. Meanwhile, once fertile land is now becoming barren, creating a significant gap in the country's economic and social structure. The decline of US agriculture is not only directly affecting farming families, but also impacting community institutions such as schools, hospitals, and other public services. As the rural economy weakens, tax revenues decrease, leaving local governments unable to maintain or provide basic services for their residents. This has resulted in budget cuts for schools and hospitals, diminishing the quality of education and healthcare in rural areas. Real estate values have also dropped sharply, making it difficult for farmers to sell land to generate income. Rural land, once highly valuable, is now either worth nothing or only a fraction of its previous value. This not only creates difficulties for those trying to maintain their livelihoods, but also triggers a chain reaction of negative impacts on small businesses and supporting industries such as construction, repair, and essential services. In conclusion, The decline of U.S. agriculture has set off a complex chain of economic and social consequences, altering not only the face of the economy, but also the lives and future of millions of people. As farming families are forced to leave their land and rural areas fall into decline, these communities face massive financial and social challenges. This is not just a warning for the agricultural sector, but a reminder of the importance of maintaining sustainable development and innovation across all industries, especially agriculture, which plays a vital role in the economy and society of the U.S. Agriculture is not only a crucial part of the economy, but also a strategic factor in national security and global influence. Food, long considered a basic necessity, has now become a strategic tool in international relations. The control of food supply and agricultural production capabilities is becoming increasingly important as nations seek autonomy in food security and protect their economies. Food is no longer just a commodity in international trade, but a key element in the national security strategy of many countries. In a world filled with volatility and instability, nations are increasingly aware that protecting food supplies is not only an economic issue, but also a strategic one. Countries with large and stable food production capabilities like Mexico are becoming important partners in maintaining global food security. The changes in the global agricultural industry, such as the U.S. losing its leadership role and Mexico rising, highlight the role of food in global strategies. Nations realize that over-reliance on a single supply source can lead to instability in food supply chains. Therefore, the current global strategy is shifting towards diversifying food supply sources, while ensuring that nations can maintain stability in providing food for their growing populations. Mexico has quickly established itself as a stable, reliable, and cost-effective supplier in the global agricultural industry. Strong growth in investments in agricultural technology and infrastructure has helped Mexico become a strategic partner. Advanced production methods such as modern greenhouses, hydroponics, and automation are enabling Mexico to increase productivity and reduce production costs, making its agricultural products cheaper and more consistent in quality than many other countries. With a stable supply and competitive pricing, Mexico has surpassed many other countries to become an important partner in supplying agricultural products to major markets like Europe and North America. Furthermore, Mexico's free trade agreements with various countries and regions, particularly the USMCA with the US and Canada, have helped Mexico maintain and expand its market share in the global agricultural industry. While Mexico has proven itself as a reliable partner in the agricultural industry, large markets like the European Union, EU, and others are recognizing the risks of relying on a single source of supply. Overdependence on large suppliers, such as the US in the past, can pose risks to supply chains when trade policy changes or geopolitical factors occur. Therefore, the EU and other countries have begun to shift towards Mexico to mitigate these risks. Diversifying food supply sources has become a crucial strategy, and Mexico is one of the primary choices for these countries. Not only does Mexico provide agricultural products at competitive prices, but it also maintains stable production levels thanks to modern technologies and advanced production methods. This helps reduce dependence on traditional suppliers and creates a more diverse and sustainable food supply chain. The global agricultural industry is entering a transformative period, with countries seeking to maintain stability in food supply and minimize risks from dependence on a single source. Mexico, with its investment strategies in technology, infrastructure, and sustainable production methods, is becoming an important partner in the global supply chain. This shift not only benefits Mexico, but also helps food-importing countries ensure long-term food security. The future of agriculture will depend largely on the ability of countries to adopt advanced technologies and improve infrastructure. Countries must find ways to reduce dependence on a single supply source and build sustainable supply chains to ensure that agricultural products can meet the growing demands of people around the world. In conclusion, agriculture is not only an economic issue but also a strategic element in the context of increasingly globalized trade. Nations need to recognize the importance of diversifying food supply sources and investing in sustainable production methods to ensure food security and maintain stability in global supply chains. Mexico, with its growing strength in the agricultural industry, is playing an important role in this global strategy. The tomato crisis is a clear example of the weakening of U.S. agriculture in the context of globalization and the increasing competition from other countries. The shift in tariff policies and external factors have had a profound impact on the U.S. agricultural market, causing it to lose its competitive edge. Along with the increasing investments in technology and infrastructure by competitors like Mexico, U.S. agriculture now faces significant challenges in maintaining its position in the global market. This not only affects farmers, but also impacts rural economies and communities involved in the food supply chain. If the current situation is not improved, many other agricultural sectors such as wheat, soybeans, and corn may face similar challenges. With the lack of innovation and investment in the industry, the U.S. risks losing its competitive advantage to countries that are increasingly advancing in agricultural production. U.S. agriculture will not be able to stand firm without radical changes to improve productivity, reduce costs, and meet the demands of increasingly discerning international markets. Without timely reform, this decline will not only weaken competitiveness, but also affect national food security and global food supply chains. To protect U.S. agriculture and maintain competitiveness in a rapidly changing global agricultural landscape, strong reforms are needed in the industry. This includes increased investment in modern technology, improved infrastructure, and innovation in agricultural production methods to enhance productivity and quality. The government needs to support farmers and food processing businesses through flexible financial policies and programs, while encouraging the development of sustainable farming practices. Additionally, collaboration between agencies, organizations, and communities is necessary to build a more sustainable agricultural system, meeting the growing global food demands while protecting the environment and promoting social development. U.S. agriculture must adapt to face global challenges and learn from other countries, seizing new opportunities to maintain its position in the global economy. Only then can U.S. agriculture develop sustainably and continue contributing to the nation's overall prosperity. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support us. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next videos about the hot issues in agriculture and the global economy. See you in the next video.